Marketing is confusing and expensive for a lot of people, and a lot of people have wasted a lot of time and money on marketing that doesn't work. And so really what we do is help people clarify their message and figure out what they need to do, and then actually implement those things so they can get attention and acquire customers. It's all I've ever done. I started this business that I run now almost 21 years ago. I was a 17-year-old in high school at the time, and we've grown quite a bit since then. That first year I only made $5,000. We need a lot more now to operate with a full team. But it's been fun. We've grown every single year, top and bottom line, year over year. And our desire and passion is to help our clients do the same as it relates to their marketing and development needs. For me, over the last handful of years, the big push has been to get me out of the day-to-day. For a long time, I operated by myself. So it was me. I did everything. I did the bookkeeping. I did the, designing. I did the developing. I did the client relationships. I think it's like that for a lot of entrepreneurs who start out. We kind of have to wear all the hats. And then over time, you start to take some of those hats off and hand them to other team members. And so really over the last 5 years, I would say that the big transition and the big growth pattern has been around a couple of things. One, getting me out of the day-to-day. So my job is not to be in the project work. Half the time, honestly, I don't even really know what's going on with the projects except to know what the client feedback is at the end of the day and what the project looks like when it gets launched. And my job really is to do things like this, do educational work, be on stage, help teach and train and encourage other people. And then ultimately, obviously, lead and grow my team. The biggest change that has happened for us over the last, I would say, 2 or 3 years has been around process. I'm not naturally a process-driven person. I'm kind of the just wing it and see what happens and try and figure it out as we go, which I think is probably normal for a lot of entrepreneurs. And that works really well up until about 10 people and maybe $1 million. And then I think once you get past that point, you realize that what got you there is not going to get you to where you want to go. And so a big change for us over the last couple of years is we implemented a system called EOS. It comes from a book called Traction by a guy named Gino Wickman. Really, really great content. And it basically just provides a framework for how to grow the systems and process side of the business. How to create the right team, how to put the right tools in place, how to track and measure goals, how to do that over the right season of time. That piece alone has been massive for us with regards to our growth, because we're already good at the sales and marketing stuff because that's what we do, but you got to be good at running the company side, and that Traction EOS system has really provided that for us. That's been a huge piece of the puzzle that has changed over the last couple of years. I don't know if it really surprised me. I think it was more around, I knew that I needed a tool set and a plan to organize the structure of the business better than where I had been. And I think there's always 2 ways to do that. One is you can just try something and see what works, or you can kind of hodgepodge a lot of different things together based on other people you've talked to or podcasts you listen to or whatever else. But I think over time, what I've realized is there's no point in reinventing the wheel on something like how to structure a business from a systems and process standpoint. And so that's what Traction did for us, is it just gave us a toolkit to go, all right, here's how we run our meetings. Here's how we organize the company. And that can be used for all kinds of different size companies, whether you have 8 employees or 500. I think the same platform could work. But especially, I feel like once I got past that 8 to 10 employee mark, and really past that $1 million in revenue mark, things start to change. And that gave us a system to operate with without me having to feel like I need to reinvent the system myself. But as far as things that have worked for us, we just have a really clear path ascension plan for how our clients kind of move through different services that we provide. So ideally, a first interaction might be them listening to my podcast or reading my book or seeing me on stage or seeing the work that our team does on the internet. Those things are all free. They're all publicly available. And that kind of creates attention. And then from there, they might come to one of our workshops, which are very low cost, and a lot of people could attend those. Then they're going to ascend into a blueprint planning phase. So this was a big thing for us, was what some people might call a paid discovery on the agency side. We call it a marketing blueprint or a development blueprint for building an application. And that has been a huge piece of the puzzle for us, because we're getting the plan right up front. And I used to always be hesitant about charging for that, because people are like, well, you're just charging for a proposal. But that's really not true. We really are doing the upfront planning of that project. And we're doing it without them having to agree to the rest of the project. And the beauty of that is we get to know exactly what we're going to build, or at least as close as we possibly can. Or from the marketing side, we know what needs to be done in order to accomplish their goals. And sometimes it's a matter of helping them figure out what their goals are along the way. And when we have that blueprint in place, it's the same thing as like somebody going to build a house or an office. If you haven't gone to an architect first and don't have a blueprint of what the building's going to look like, the builder can't tell you how much the house is going to cost, how long it's going to take, or anything else. And I think both on marketing and development, people sometimes expect that. And I always say, that piece of the puzzle over the last year or two has been huge on the sales and marketing side, because it gets people in, it lets us have a smaller engagement with them than we might normally, but they get to trust us, we get to kind of work with them, we both get to decide if we're a good fit, and that's been exponential for our growth over the last year or two for sure. The biggest lead generator for us has been that thought leadership work for sure. We don't do cold calling. We've never done cold calling. It's often about relationship building on social media. So whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or something else, I think that people often misuse those platforms because they want to use them as sales vehicles, and they're not sales vehicles, they're relationship vehicles. And what they allow somebody like me, like I have 5 kids who are all pretty young. They range from 7 to 15. And one of my kind of core values for myself is to be home for dinner every night. Now, it's not every night. Sometimes I have to travel and things like that. But if I'm going to miss dinner, there has to be a significant reason why that's going to happen. And so things like social media allow us to build relationships with people in scenarios where we don't have to travel as much, or we don't have to be at as many events or as many networking functions. And so that's been a huge play for us too, has been able to build relationships online, personal relationships, not even just with the company to a person, but an individual. I think that's where a lot of companies miss out, is their executives, especially those who are comfortable in front of a camera or comfortable on social media. If they're just promoting their brand and not the humans that are within their brand, I think that's a huge missed opportunity, because ultimately people do business with other people, not with other brands, especially when we're talking about the thousands and tens of thousands of small businesses out there, and even medium-sized businesses. They're working with individuals, and they don't really care that much about the brand until it gets to a mega size. With all clients, the first thing that we start with is their messaging. I found over time that a lot of times people would come to us and they'd say, hey, Jay, we need you to build a new website. And we'd say, great, what do you want to put on it? And they'd say, we want to put this text on there and these pictures and these videos. And we'd say, okay, and give us your brand. And we put all that together and we make a good looking website, and off they went. Now what we do is we really back the question up, and we start talking about the story that their brand's telling, but we shift it to the customer perspective. So a lot of times people will also come to us and say, Jay, we need your help to tell our story. And now I say, no, you don't. You need our help to invite your customer into a story. So one of the marketing tools in our tool belt, if you will, is a thing called Story Brand. And it was kind of fashioned by a guy named Donald Miller. And there's a book he wrote called Building a Story Brand. We're actually a certified agency through his organization. And we use that platform as the starting point for any business. And so regardless of what you do and what you sell, if you don't have a clear explanation of what your customer wants, what the problem is you're helping them overcome, and how you come alongside them to give them a clear plan and call them to action to show them success and help them avoid failure. If you're not having that at the beginning of the framework, nothing else works. We recently redid some work for an orthodontist, for example. Just to go through a specific case. And we went through this process. We defined what it looked like, what their message, what did they really want? What they really wanted was not braces. Nobody wants braces. Like, nobody wants Invisalign. Nobody wants to have to put things in their mouth and like create pain so that their teeth will get straight. They don't even really just want straight teeth. What they ultimately want is the confidence to have the smile that they deserve. So we worked on transforming their messaging while also transforming the visuals of their website, their online marketing, their social media, and bringing that all together. So I always say design builds trust, but words are what sell. And ultimately, we want both of those things together. For a long time, I spent way too much time concerned about the design and the aesthetics of how good things looked. And I didn't spend nearly enough time on the words that actually caused people to take action. And so as a result of that, they now have more leads coming in than they have time to deal with, which is a great problem to have. And ultimately, it just shifts from, hey, we're in orthodontics, or hey, we do braces, or hey, we do Invisalign, to hey, we help you get the smile and the confidence that you deserve. Like, that's a very different outcome that you're shaping the vision for somebody. And when you combine that with amazing design as well, you get a lot of leads and you get a lot of customers. So that's kind of a framework of how we think about things from the marketing perspective. Because some people need different numbers of leads in order to get different number of customers. So we talk about what those goals are first, and then we're going to look at the channels that we have available in order to get that attention. We might use traditional search engine optimization to help get them ranked higher in Google. We might use paid ads, whether that is on Google or on Bing or on Facebook or on LinkedIn or any of the other platforms. We want to know, where is their audience? Where can we get their attention? So we use paid ads around that. Email marketing is actually vastly undervalued right now still. So if somebody has a good email list, we might use that to help drive and kind of churn up something that was maybe just barely a warm list to a hot list to turn them into leads. So we use all those digital channels, but it just really depends on the client and what their goals are and where their audience is as to what that actual plan's going to be. We're not just going to cookie cut a package and hand it to them. We're going to customize it based on their particular needs and based on their particular audience. Email's working better than people think that it is. I always tell people right now, I would rather have a valid email address that I'm allowed to send something to than 100 people liking my Facebook page. It doesn't mean I don't want to target people on Facebook. It just means that when they're on Facebook, I can target them anyway because of the ad channels. We can use demographic data to decide who we want to display our ads to. I don't even need them to like my page. I mean, I like them to like it, but I would much rather have an email address. The likelihood of converting that person into buying either the first time or buying more is much higher, especially in the e-commerce world. I mean, emails are cash money. As far as underperforming, I mean, it continues to become more difficult in some spaces to get paid ads to perform like they used to, but that's just a change in the number of people using them. You know, when you, I don't know if you're familiar with a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, really popular in the social media world. He always talks about when he first started running ads, paid ads on Google around wine, he was paying like 5 cents a click for like Cabernet. You're not going to get 5 cents a click on the keyword Cabernet anymore. So it's a little bit harder. And as a result, it's more expensive. But that just makes it really important to be tracking the outcomes. So what are we trying to achieve? And, you know, are we tracking the actual results? Because that's the beauty of digital advertising, or should be, that any digital advertising we're doing, if the intent is not just to create awareness, but the intent is actually to create a lead, we need to see, I spent $1,000 on an ad campaign and I got 100 leads and that turned into 10 customers. Were those 10 customers worth the $1,000 I spent on the ads? Yes or no? That's the beauty of it if we're tracking data correctly. So email, I think most undervalued right now. Like I said, I think that paid ads are becoming more difficult. It's going to be interesting to see what AI and machine learning does to that industry over the next couple of years as well. The best way to find me online, all of my content is on my own website at jowenlive.com. So my book is on there, the podcast is on there, links to my social media are all on there. So that's the best place to find me, jowenlive.com. If they want to get a free copy of my book, I am shipping that out, just cover the cost of shipping and handling. That link is on there, or you can just go to getjaysbook.com. And that book, Building a Business That Lasts, is on there. I'd love to share that. It's one of my favorite pieces of information to send out. So those are the best places to reach me.